Hello everyone. I hope you are all doing well. In this video, I'm going to show you how we can use a PDF document and send that PDF document to our Power Automate AI builder so that it can basically read some inputs from that PDF document, and then there can be more than one implications. I mean, more than one application for using that information. So in this case, we are going to use it for creating a document in Business Central. But the third aspect of this exercise can be certainly optional. I mean, you can use it for any other information. Maybe you can draft an email, send it back to the recipient or to any other team and whatnot, right? So before we go into that, let me just quickly introduce myself. So I'm Rishabh Shukla. I'm working currently as a managing consultant with Oli Technologies. Um, I just recently started blogging about for things based on the feedback I got from my peers across this community. So that's actually my blog site, richardblog.com, and that's there only one blog in it. So uh, pretty much the reason behind that is that I'm way lazier when it comes to writing stuff. So I, at this time I try to create a quick video so that I can give you some information, and yeah, based on the feedback I get, I'll see if I have to create more, right? So yeah, feel free to join in on Git. That's basically the repository on which the profile that I'm using. And yeah, you can feel free to browse through the repository on which I work on a public platform. All right, so we understand the need. Now let's understand how it is going to be there, and then I'll show you the method, basically to the madness, how we are going to do that thing in bits and pieces, right? So consider one very quick scenario. I have a vendor which is going to give me a purchase order, and as a basic exercise, the purchase order that I receive from a vendor is basically going to be a sales order for me, right? So for him, I'm going to be his vendor, and but for me, he's going to be my customer, right? So he's going to give me a purchase order. I'll get that purchase order, and by reading the information, so let's take an example, right? So let's say I got this purchase order from a vendor, and that's the information, right? Let's take a very simple and easy example. Uh, Now, on a usual practice, what we do is that we go through the document. We say, okay, first of consultants, that's going to be the customer, and in here we'll say that's the item, that's a vendor invoice number. What else? Um, Payment term, receipt by, maybe ship to address. Yeah, some of the information. Now, noticing this information, we go back to our Business Central tenant, and then we start creating an order. Now, that's a typical cycle that we usually use, which is not wrong if you are going through only 2 to 3 orders a day. Now, consider an example where you are going through, let's say, 50, 20, maybe 30 orders a day, and each order may have like 100 or not 100 would be a bad number to be honest, like 20 lines or 30 lines, right? So you would definitely ask for a automatic mechanism. And when I'm before I start, I just want to make it clear, it's not like it's not available in the system. We have OCR available with Business Central, right? But the whole idea for showing you this video is to show you how you can do it with the Power Automate, because I have seen few enhanced feature which might be easier for someone who is also not a technical. Okay, so let's see. In this case, my vendor is basically going to create an email and is going to send me that email with his Gmail account. I'm just going to put the subject so that I can easily remove it. So yeah, he said, "Hi Rishabh, I've attached the purchase order for you. Order you asked. Thanks, Kronos." So that's the name of the company. Now I'll go in and I have this document which I'm going to attach here. right? And then I'll say send. Once I send it, I will receive this email here in a while. There you go. So I got this email, which is fine. But if I now go back to my Business Central, I have the sales order, right? If I click here, it also has created a, sales header, sales line. Now up to me if I want to, release it, initiate a workflow or something, and send back some notification back to him. Now, there's one more thing which is also happening with this cycle. So if I go back, refresh, so here you can see this was the mail that uh, vendor we have sent to our vendor, and this is the reply that we got from our vendor, right? So it says hi name. Don't to be honest go with that. I just took hard coded name in this case. Thank you for your order, and please consider this mail as an attached acknowledgement of the purchase order you have placed. Your sales order number for reference is this, right? Now, typically what you do is that you do all the same exercise, but you do it manually. But in this case, you have seen that uh, so I got a email having an attachment into it. My system go went through that email, read that attachment, created a document, replied back to the customer with an acknowledgement. Okay, so I mean, I don't really have to go into the benefits of all this. You can clearly understand that. I mean, how responsive you're going to be for your customers when you do something like that, and the ease of access, the space that you are giving your team people to work on other stuff because this process is going to be automated, right? So yeah, I mean, implications and benefits are way, way far as you can think of, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'll basically show you the method to the madness for this. So to begin with, let's take a prerequisite that you need a Power Automate account. That's kind of a mandatory. You need to have a Power Automate account, and you need to create a login for this. So I have a trial account. If you don't have it, please go ahead, create one. It's free for at least a month. You can use it for trial. So once you have it, log in. And on the other hand, I've used Business Central because in this case, I'm using it for Business Central. But if you want to use it for some other purpose, this step is basically optional. So like I said, getting the document, using it in Power Automate is something which is going to be here, but usage wise, you can use it on any other platform, right? So first things first, to begin with, when I log into my Power Automate, I have to go in AI Builder. Under AI Builder, I will create a model. So in this case, I've already created a model. So model is basically, a schema. Basically, you can say a structure which allows you or to train your system based on for the documents that you're going to send in. So let's take an example. I'll just go ahead and say uh, edit model. So it's going to take a while. All right. So consider one document, and in this document you can say what you will do at your first go, right? You see the document, you will say this is going to be my customer name. This is going to be my external document number. That's going to be my date, and this is going to be my line information. What he wants, quantity, pieces, price on which we agreed upon, and then based on that the line amount, right? So these are certain informations which you definitely see in a document before creating that as a in the system manually. Okay. Now, in a similar way, I have created a few placeholder in here. Okay, and that's the information I want my AI to extract from the PDF, right? So from this PDF, I would like to ask my AI to extract this, extract this, extract this, and extract this table information right here, right? So this is what I have done here. So I said vendor name, it's a field, and posting date, that's a field, blah blah blah, and creating that field is not that difficult. You click on add, you say field, and then you say next, and the name of the field. That's it, right? Easy. Now with lines, it's a bit tricky. Not, I'll not say tricky. It's quite simple, but it's a bit different as compared to fields. So with lines, you can see here, a line means that you are going to have a array, a collection of records and type lines. You can say with item, GL, resource, and whatnot, right? So I will say in this document, I will have a table, right? Now, again, to create a table, go here, single page table, and then say rename item number, you know, and then description, add, something like this. Just name your table something, right? So in this case, I've already created one. So I'm expecting these columns from my document. Okay. So once I do that, I do save and then I go next. Now, here comes a collection of documents, and this is something which is really important. So as a human being, what you do normally is that you train yourself and practice yourself as much as you can, which later on, makes you closer to perfection. Reading this documents for a model, it's kind of the same thing. You have to train your model with as much as variety you can, right? So in this case, I have trained my model with these many documents. So when I say these many documents, which means that it's not the same document I'm showing him it all the time. Okay. So what I am showing him is that the variety that I can have with my documents. So in some case, if I take a very quick example, uh, I said that this is going to be one document, right? And in this case, I said this is going to be another document. So you can have two lines into it, right? And in a similar way, this can be another document. So you can see here I'm training the AI to basically go through all the varieties of documents that I can receive in this model. And one way or another, you can easily understand the same way how we also perform our activities, right? You cannot always expect the same information all the time getting to us, right? So you have to train the model with as much as varieties you can. To add a new document here, just click here, and then you can upload it from these many sources, and that's very easy. Just click on any of the PDF that you have and click on open. So it basically is going to open all these going to upload this document here like I did. And once you do that, you have to click on analyze. So now it's going to analyze all those documents, and based on the previous inputs you have given and whatever new documents you have attached, it's going to analyze them and say, okay, hey, in this document, you told me this was the vendor number or the vendor name. Now in this document, I think this could be the vendor name, right? So let's see, it's going to take a while. Okay, so now it says loading fields. There you go. Okay, so now you can see that's one of the documents. And if you scroll on this right side, you can see the bunch of documents that I have already loaded and explained to my model, right? So let's take an example. On the right side, you can see here the placeholders that I have mentioned. So if I click on any one of them, it gives me the information here, right? So how did I do that? So let me do one thing in front of you. So I'll say remove tag. So now I would like to mention the vendor name here. So I'll drag from here to here, and keep in mind, don't take extra spaces like this, because for AI, it's sometimes becomes difficult to identify the area that your name is going to take or any other string is going to take, right? So in this case, if you feel that your area is going to do your kind of text is going to take more than one line, then cover that area as well at the same time. Like in this case, if you think the price including VAT, again, very hypothetical case, if you think it's going to take the area from here to here, drag it all the way through, okay? So that it understands that this area is specifically for this specific placeholder, right? So now I have mentioned this. Now, speaking of tables, how did I do this? Um, I clicked from here to here. Okay, so let me remove one from here and then I'll tell you how I did that. So I'll remove this tag and I'll say drag from here to here. Oops, let me do it again. There. So now it suggests me that it should be a table. I clicked on that. Now you can see the columns that I have mentioned there. Now they are available for me for my mapping, right? So I click here and I say this will be the item number, description. That's going to be my description. Quantity will be this. Scrolling to my right, unit of measure, well, doesn't have any. So moving on, unit, let's say direct unit cost, VAT identifier, that's the zero in this case, line amount, $10,000. Done. Well, that's it. So once you do that, you can see all the tick marks here. It has to be a tick mark. If it is not, then it means that your AI is not completely ready. Okay. And then, I mean, uh, it shows detected words. You can see that it also recognizes other stuff in the PDF. If you want to tag it to something, you can. If you don't want to tag it to something, just leave it the way it is. Okay. So again, it's not necessary that every information that you have on the document is required for you, right? All right. So once you do that, you click on next, and then you click on train. Once you click on train, it means that it's going to read the placeholders that you have mentioned. It's going to generate an algorithm to train it himself accordingly, so that when you process the document to it, it's going to basically give you the information that it has, right? So let's go back because I've already done that, and it takes a while to basically do all that stuff. Oops. So I'll say back, back, back. Hmm. All right, I might have to open another environment of flow, but that is fine. All right, I'll go back, models. So while it is getting open, you can create as many as models as you can, right? So if you have a specific format for a specific customer, and that customer, I mean, it doesn't have to be that you have to create all the documents using flow. You can create some of them manually all the time, right? But in some cases where you think this process can be automated and saves time, so this is the way how you can do that, right? So now you can see I have this model with me, and I've named it as Cronus purchase orders. And if I go here, it gives me the detailing of my document, right? So let's say you see the information here. Now you will say, let's see a quick test, right? So it says, give me a document, upload it from my device. I'll say document 10. So now it's going to analyze that document based on the feedback that we have given. And again, no promises. You can see here, it recognizes almost everything. You can see it says this is the PO line table, and that's the information that you need for item. Now, but on the other hand, it gives that as a confidence score of 36%. It's considering this as a posting date, but it has a confidence score. Okay, so confidence score is basically, it says that how accurate the AI thinks that he is based on the input and the placeholder that you have mentioned, right? But it doesn't mean that it's going to be always right. Now, in this case, you can see it's considering this as a vendor number, right? Which means that your model has to be trained a bit more, in sense of you can understand it's considering this as a vendor number. Obviously, the document is never going to be created, but you get the idea what I'm saying, right? And similarly with the payment term code as well, it's getting this idea wrong. But let's take an example. We're not able to, make it robust. We are just here to understand how this basically works. Let's say close, and now we are going to use this model to basically run some of our processes, right? So to do that, let's go and see step by step how do we do that, right? So first things first, we'll create a new flow. So in my case, I have done 3 examples, and in those 3 examples, what I have done here is that uh, I have created a flow which I would like to trigger manually. And once I trigger the flow manually, I'll say, I'll take the input as a file content, right? And then I'm going to use some certain variables. I need the vendor name, I need the vendor invoice number, and I need the lines. Now, forget about the stuff that I've written here. I'll explain that to you later. So just consider these 3 string variables. Now at this point, and this is how we basically do that, you have to create a new action, and the action name will be process and save information from forms, right? So once you do that, it's going to ask you for the AI model. Now that's the model that we have just created. Okay, you can click on the drop down, you'll get the name here. Now here it says the form type. In my case, it is PDF, but yeah, you can train your AI with the other values as well. Okay, and then it says what's going to be the value of the form. In my case, it's going to be the file content for the first example, and this is basically the file content, right? So the value that I'm getting as a file is my file content, right? So moving on. So once I do that, it says I might have to loop something. So what happened is this apply to each is automatically created because this AI builder has a table in it, and the table name is PO line that we have is generally created while creating our AI model, right? So I'm going to loop through all these lines, and then I'm going to use the value of this variable at some point. Uh, so what basically I'm doing at the end is that I'm generating an email, a very basic one. Okay, so now let me just show you how it is working, and then I'll show you why I did added those, HTML stuff in the middle. So I'll just click on run. And here I'll say import 10 open run flow. Now, the beauty of flow is that every time you create one, and I'm just putting it on the record because I hope you guys already know that. And that's actually the beauty of flow that I like a lot. You can see everything that has happened. So now I can see the content of the file. All right. So that's, you can see the bytes that I received from the file. That's good. Now that's the variable name that I got. Now that's basically initialization. Let's come to this part. In here, that's the AI model. That's the content I received. And in here, you can see the data in JSON. Again, let's make it simple, not too much technical. Now, once the loop ran in, I can see that the first loop. Uh, so here, I'll take lines. I'll say vendor name. No, not the vendor name as well. Yeah, vendor invoice number 2307. Right? I did not take the vendor name, to be honest, because it's pointing to purchase order and don't want you guys to get confused into it. So what basically I'm doing here is that I'm generating an XML document, an XML here, and again, like I said, at this point, the role of AI model is pretty much done, while it is looping through the apply to each iteration. Okay, because giving you data. Now, like I said, in my example, in this case, for the first one, I'm just going to reply to this email that I have acknowledged this order. Okay, I'm not doing anything else. But in other cases, you can take the values into variables for this AI model, and then you can utilize it further, right? So in this case, I have used the values, and in here, I have constructed a body of an email, right? So all the stuff that you see here in the beginning for lines around here, that's basically the styling of HTML. And again, guys, don't go into too much detail. If you're not familiar to HTML, don't bother doing that. Okay, you can just simply type it into a very simple language. You don't have to give this all these tags and everything. Okay, or if you want, what I did here, just Google how to create HTML table. You will get all this code that you wanted. Okay, don't bother about if you don't know HTML. That is completely fine. You don't really have to go through all these details. Now, once I did that, I should get an email into my account. There it is. So now you can see I have an email nicely articulated saying that's the information, that's the vendor invoice number, and that's the wrong vendor name. But never mind, we're not here to make it robust. We're just here to understand the concept, how it works, and how can I utilize it. We can fix the bugs every time or anytime, right? So that's the first example, right? Now let's take another example. Now that's basically the example I've shown you in the very beginning, right? So in this case, I'm manually triggering the flow, right? The flow is basically triggered manually, and then I have to upload the document. Now I created another flow for this example, and what happens here is that every time when I receive an email, I'm going to run this process, and then I'm going to create a record in my sales order. Let me walk you through the flow. Okay, so the starting point of my flow will be that I am going to receive an email into the folder of my inbox, right? And needless to say, when you configure your Outlook, you have to configure it with an account. So in my case, I've configured it with mine. Use it as a generic account or something that you want to receive, on which you want to receive your orders, maybe accounts department or something like that, right? Now, yeah, initialize variables, I did use them, but yeah, you can remove them. Now, how you're going to use the data and how you're going to, implement the functionality, how you're going to make it robust, it could be definitely different from what I did here, because what I did here is it's more of a POC, it's more of a, learning thing that I've done. Okay. All right. So I got all this information. Now at this point, I am going to create a sales header in Business Central. Now, if you are someone who's working with the Business Central community, you can understand the logic behind it. And while we are at the subject, I mean, creating purchase order, sales order, and all, it's quite easy when you do it with the help of API. So it's everything available on the docs. So while I'm doing this, I don't have to open my Postman or anything else at all. Even I did not open Visual Studio Code for a second. I did everything with the help of just going through the documentation. So in this case, let's say I would like to create a sales header, right? So I'll go down here, keep going, sales order. So now it says create sales order, right? There. So now it gives me a body that how my request should be and how my info. So that's going to be the information of my sales or my sales header. Again, it doesn't have to be everything. You don't have to populate each and every information, but that's a request that you can get as a sample. Right. So I'll come back. I have connected my Business Central to the production company. Let's say Cronus USA. So that's the default company. Make it dynamic if you want to. API category. You don't have to change that. So now I pick sales orders. How did I pick sales order? Let's go back. That's the reason why I picked sales orders, right? So you can go here, you see create, I pick this, come back. So once I do that, all the parameters are available as a, input for me. Very easy. So in this case, as you've seen that I've hard coded the customer number. Okay, so let's not go into details how to make it robust. Okay, again, let's stick to the part that we are doing POC. Now, there is a possibility that my document or my email could have more than one attachment. Okay, so I'm going to loop through all my attachments. So when I say loop through, it means apply. I'm just looping through the documentation. So it says select an output information for previous step. I'm saying loop through my attachments, right? So when I loop through my attachments, it will go to the first PDF document, second PDF document, third PDF document, something like this, right? Now, moving on, within this loop, I'll say take the first attachment and then send that attachment to my AI model, right? Now, once I do that, it's going to ask me the same thing, which AI model, what will be the format, I'll say PDF. And from where I can get the data, it says I can get it from the attachment that I received from the Outlook, right? Now, again, so once I receive the attachment, and it's going to loop through like now from here it's going to be everything like I did from the previous flow. So it's going to loop through the say the PO line table, and now I'm going to use the value of that line table in by creating that line. So I've created a document earlier. I have the sales header. I'm going to use that as an ID for the document number. Now in here, I'll say, if I just put the cursor on, it says item number, right? So if you remember when I created the AI model and I was creating the tables, I mentioned this as my item number. Same thing goes for description, quantity, unit price, right? So once I do that, what it's going to do is it's going to loop through all the attachments here. For every attachment, it's going to send the information to the AI model. And then once it goes to the AI model says this model has a line table. It's going to loop through that line table. It's going to create that document for me, right? And once everything for this is done, so let me close this. I would like to reply my customer, right? So in this case, I'll select another, action that's going to be reply to an email. And again, I'm not showing you how I did that. I mean, if you want, I can just quickly show you one. Add an action. It's pretty simple. Say Outlook, oops, wrong spelling, 365, and here type reply, boom, there you go, right? I mean, again, fairly simple. You don't have to be smart, technical to do all this stuff. You have basic idea of how things work. You can do it by yourself. And believe me, I did this all without even touching code at all. So I said reply to an email. Uh, so it says a message ID. So to reply a message, there is a message ID for each message that you have received. So in my case, I'll use the message ID that I have received from this message. Okay. So I click here, I move down. If I scroll down up to some point, I will say, you can see here it says some placeholder from when an email arrives. So I'll select I think message ID. Yeah, there you go. Message ID. So I've selected this. Now I'm going to construct my body. Now this thing is purely HTML. I mean, we all know whatever we receive as an information in our Outlook, it's an HTML. So again, if you don't know HTML, don't bother at all. Don't worry at all. Just keep on typing stuff that you want to. So in my case, I said hi. So that's the customer name. How did I get that? I clicked here, scroll down, and when the sales order was created, I got the name of the customer from there, right? So I said the customer name, blah, blah, blah. Please consider this as an acknowledgement and all. Thanks, Rishabh. Now, if you want to make it more robust, I mean, like I said, you can do it in a different way. You can attach something, you can send the attachment back to this one, or you can trigger this logic from Business Central itself, right? You can release the order, and we have a nicely articulated UI to construct an email and then send it back to the customers for the information, right? So Yeah, so once I save this, and in my case, it is already there. So it's basically going to run the flow for me. So like I've shown you earlier. So let me show you one cycle what it happened when I basically send that information to Business Central to Power Automate. So when Gmail account sent me an email on my Outlook account, this happened. So I got an input on my inbox. Subject was this. I said that go through only attachments, only if they have attachment, because I don't want to, have any rush on my email ID. So it gives me certain outputs. It says click to download. So that's, I mean, you don't really have to go through this information, but if you see closely, you have everything that you need for a PDF document right here. But nevertheless, let's not go into too much details. Initialize variable, ignore that. Let's go here. Now you can see each iteration. So in this case, there was only one iteration. If I move on, if I click here, I can see it tells me the information of the sales line that it has created, right? So that's basically the line number, sorry, the item number, and that was the description, right? And that basically the quantity that I have received from there. Okay, so I populated quantity into the quantity field. So yeah, I mean, easy to debug as well, right? So now comes to the email. So I've replied to this email, and that was actually my body of the email, right? So in all likelihood, this was basically what I wanted to show you all. I hope it helped you guys, and yeah, feel free to comment if you have any questions. I'm going to put these flows to my GitHub repository, so you can take help from it. Again, on a longer and broader scale, feel free to make it robust and make it more flexible with the type of requirements you have. You can make things conditional as well, right? You can make conditions that if the document is PDF, then only go through this cycle, else remove them. So yeah, all these things are possible with flow, and that's actually the gist that I wanted to share with this video. So I hope it helped. Thank you for staying this long and listening all this. Have a good day.